Business has always been about turning a profit, making money. But can it stand for something more? Something beyond dollars and cents? We think so. We think that today, business has a higher calling, a purpose to be fair and just, to do right by their workers, customers, communities, and the environment. And it turns out companies successful doing that also do better for their bottom line. When you see the Just Capital seal, it means this company is a force for good. Visit justcapital.com to learn more.
And good afternoon. We are doing more in 2024 and now on at 4. Yep, our new time, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Weekdays right here on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And your on-demand Mottek On Money podcast at kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, all your favorite podcast platforms. And yes, on the socials too, at Frank Mottek on Twitter, now known as X, and Instagram. Well, the stock market kicking off the new week higher. Tech names got a lift today as we saw Treasury bond yields pull back a bit. The Dow coming in for a closing gain of 217 points. The S&P 500 moved up 66, and the Nasdaq gained 320 points. Stocks are getting a lift today as the Treasury yields did pull back, with the yield in the 10-year note. That's the one that impacts the fixed-rate mortgage rates, pulling back below 4% after the latest New York Fed survey found one-year inflation expectations were at their lowest since January of 2021. The yield in the 10-year note looks like it's now at 4.03%. We're watching what's happening with the economic readings. It's going to be a big week this week on inflation. We'll be getting the December Consumer Price Index on Thursday. Economists expect headline inflation to be 3.3%, actually higher from November's 3.1%. So that's going to be a big deal this week. Over the weekend, we heard from the Dallas Fed President, Lori Logan, who said it was too early to take rate increases off the table as inflation remained above the 2% Fed target, and a premature easing of financial conditions could allow demand to pick back up as the Fed tries to orchestrate a soft landing for the economy. The S&P 500, meanwhile, has started the year with 3 straight down days for just the 9th time since 1991. And the jobs report on Friday showed the labor market is still percolating. Last Friday's stronger than expected reading on the job front, along with a weaker than forecast survey of the services sector, pretty much added to the uncertainty over the Fed's next move. Inflation reports due this week, including that reading I mentioned on the consumer prices on Thursday. Then we'll get the wholesale price index on Friday. Those will be the big economic stories this week. Meanwhile, a team of strategists at UBS, a wealth management team, lifting its 2024 price target for the S&P 500 now, joining others on Wall Street. We expect stocks to reach record territory before the end of the year. Of course, the Dow started at a record high, but has since been bouncing around. United Airlines says it found loose bolts and other installation issues, as they're calling it, on part of some of the Boeing 737 MAX 9 jetliners that were inspected after a mid-flight blowout on a similar Alaska Airlines jet on Friday. Did you see what happened there with the door coming off and somebody's Apple phone getting found after taking a plunge of about 16,000 feet and was still working? So Apple could use that in some of their ads now. Takes a licking and keeps on ticking, just like the Timex ads used to say. Total consumer credit rising to nearly $24 billion in November. How's this for a credit card bill? Up from $5.8 billion. That's an increase of $5.8 billion over the previous month, according to the Federal Reserve. That translates into a 5.7% annual rate, up from a revised 1.4% rise in the previous month. Meanwhile, California's credit card bill looking pretty bad these days. California's financial situation not looking good. Governor Newsom expected to announce a proposed budget this week amid a nearly $70 billion budget deficit. Also, the push continues to repeal the so-called death tax here in California. I'll discuss that this afternoon with Susan SHELLY, columnist for the Southern California News Group and host of the Howard Jarvis radio show, heard Monday nights right here on your favorite station, 790 KBC. Coming off a big night for Hollywood and for business in Beverly Hills, the 81st Annual Golden Globe Awards held last night at the Beverly Hilton. Mixed reviews of the show itself, but it brought in big bucks to the local economy. Also a worldwide television audience. I was there last night, and I'll take you to the red carpet and talk to the Honorable Dr. Julian Gold, M.D., the mayor of Beverly Hills, and also world-famous celebrity chef Nobu Matsuhisa, chef and entrepreneur extraordinaire whose restaurant empire includes the famous Nobu restaurants in Malibu and Beverly Hills, and his flagship restaurant, MATSUHISA, in Beverly Hills. That and more coming up later this hour. But right now, first on Your Money, the markets and the economy at our new time here in the 4 o'clock hour. Joining us live now, Jonathan HOENIG, Fox News contributor, portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, and author of the book Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Market at Any Time. And you may or may not know he's also a pet lover, too. He has presented a new book recently titled, Can You Really Love a Dog? Doggone it. Jonathan, it's great to have you with us here. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Frank, and great to be with you. I was following along with your photos on the your Instagram feed from the Golden Globe, so I'm looking forward to those interviews. And you mentioned that Apple iPhone falling from the plane at 16,000 feet. I mean, amazing achievement for Apple, but I got to tell you, I don't know if I'd want to buy Apple stock, even with that pretty good news. It's underperforming this year, and what I'm seeing is a lot of the broader market names like pharmaceuticals, small caps, international stocks. Those are where the places I'm putting my money now.
On there live with Jonathan HOENIG. Certainly a lot of people do follow Apple, and it got off to a rough start this year. I'll bring up the quote on Apple here shortly, but what about Apple? It looks like they're coming out with one of their first big new products in years, Apple's Vision Pro headset, launching next month. I don't know if you saw this, the company trying to expand its mixed reality market with a new product here. Looks like February 2nd it'll be coming out.
And the technology is incredible, Frank, but, there's a difference between a company and a stock. Market fads really kind of come and go. And look, it's been big tech for years now. We've talked about those Magnificent Seven. But one of the differences we've seen basically since rates have started to come down, I mean, you mentioned the 10-year notes at 4%. It was at 5% just last October. So as rates have come down, we've seen the market breadth really broaden. And that's a good thing if you're bullish on the economy. We've started to see, as I mentioned, biotech stocks, small cap stocks, even some of the cannabis stocks rebound a bit in recent weeks. So I think that's where I'm focusing on now. Apple, great company, but I think the real money is going to be made in this next year in these often overlooked areas of the market, particularly small cap, dividend-oriented, pharma, and even energy.
All right, Apple did close up more than $4 today, back to $185 and change on this new device coming out. And, of course, on the buzz it got on this phone falling out of the plane. Isn't that something? But let me ask you this. Is augmented reality going to be the big thing this year, like AI was last year, as we head into the new year?
Well, it's true. The technology, Frank, really is unbelievable. I mean, you've got to hand it to American technology companies, despite all the headwinds, not just from financial markets, but from Washington as well. I mean, it seems like every couple of weeks we get a new announcement of an antitrust suit or an investigation to these big tech companies. And, they're coming out with the technology that is going to rule the new economy. And, the augmented reality from Apple, I know the set is going to retail for upwards of $2,500 or maybe even $3,000. It sounds extraordinary, but, I mean, you and I remember when car phones were first introduced, and they were, in the hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of dollars. That technology came down in price, and the augmented reality will as well. So, Apple is a multifaceted play. It's a service company, wonderful company. I just don't think the real action is going to be there in the stock market in 2024.
Whatever happened to the metaverse? Facebook changed its name to Meta, and people were buying homes in the metaverse, yachts and all that, and we're paying real money for this imaginary world. Is that still a thing?
It's pretty remarkable to consider it, Frank. The best thing Facebook did was abandon that metaverse initiative, at least. I mean, really, since they refocused, the stock's up about 177% in just the last year. Amazing move. But does it continue now in 2024? I mean, that's past price action, if you will. And, again, Facebook and Meta, part of those Magnificent Seven stocks that have grown to dominate nearly every portfolio. In fact, Frank, these seven stocks were responsible about 80% of last year's market gain, just a small handful. So, for example, instead of in a name like a Meta, for me, I'd buy something, for example, like pharmaceutical stocks, FTXH. That's FTXH. This is a basket of pharmaceutical stocks, very undervalued, not particularly sexy, but strong. And as I said, Frank, I think this is going to be the year you have to think a little bit more creatively, those big seven stocks, and FTXH is one name that's on my list.
I remember last year banks were a big part of the story as 2023 began with those three big bank failures. This week we'll be getting bank earnings kicking off the earnings season. Friday it'll be J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, Wells Fargo will be leading the bank earnings parade, and we'll be watching that. Banks back in the news this year. Elizabeth Banks, that is. I saw her last night at the Golden Globes. The actress, and she's a director too. I'm gonna give you a preview of one of my tweets or Instagram postings. Banks back in the news, and there was the actress Banks there. But what about the big banks? And what's the outlook for the banks this year?
Well, look, Frank, it's amazing that it was almost a year ago, as you said, when it looked like the banking sector could be a risk writ large. It's come back quite strongly. In fact, just last week, we saw Bank of America and J.P. Morgan at 52-week highs. And that's a bullish sign. You know, when a stock's at a 52-week high, the tendency is that trend will continue. The one that we own over at Capitalist Pig is almost like the European version of Bank of America. It's Deutsche Bank, DB. That's the ticker symbol. The stock's at a 52-week high just today. And as I said, people are often reluctant to buy a stock at a 52-week high. They say, oh, it can't go any higher. But so often, Frank, that is a high, not the high. And I do think DB, that's Deutsche Bank, goes higher from here.
Speaking to Jonathan HOENIG, Fox News contributor and a portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, and author of the book Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Market at Any Time. I know you keep an eye out for some of the unsung heroes out there in the markets. And what about the small cap names, which also rebounded late last year after that rough patch we had in 2023?
Yeah, in fact, Frank, small caps have been really out of favor for a long time. Small caps and also value-oriented stocks. I mean, really, you haven't heard about those literally for years, and by many measures, they're trading at the biggest.
The NFL playoffs are here, and it all starts on January 13th with Super Wildcard Weekend.
Give me everything you got!
12 teams, 6 games, 3 days, and one epic weekend that kicks off with a Saturday doubleheader, followed by a Sunday tripleheader, and ends with a Wild Card Monday.
Unbelievable!
The road to Super Bowl 58 starts now. Super Wild Card Weekend presented by Verizon. Visit NFL.com/schedule for ways to watch.
What companies deserve your hard-earned dollar? Which would you want to work for? How can you know if they share your values? Just ask us. Just Capital is a nonprofit that tracks who really means business in supporting workers, customers, communities, the environment, and shareholders. We measure progress, track success, and help them be better. When you see the Just Capital seal, you know what's real, because just business is better business. Visit justcapital.com to learn who makes your dollar count.
Discount to growth stocks in well over a decade. So I've actually got an idea that combines both of these themes, if you will. IWX, that's IWX. This is a fund that holds small cap value stocks. So, if you really want to diversify, Frank, you just can't own those big 7 names. You have to own a broader basket. So IWX, as I said, it focuses on areas that are very cheap, very unloved, very out of favor, but could do very well in 2024, even if the broad market falls. IWX could sustain a momentum on the upside.
All right. We talked to the harshest critics of the cryptos as well as the biggest fans. John Najarian's been on recently as Bitcoin has rebounded late last year. Now it's back around 47,000 here. What about the cryptos? What are your thoughts about cryptos here in 2024?
Frank, we've talked about it for years. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but I certainly wouldn't fight it. I mean, look at the list of 50-day highs and 100-day highs today, and they are filled with crypto-oriented investments. And as you know, there's a lot of anticipation over the listing of the first Bitcoin ETF. There's been a lot of surrogate Bitcoin ETFs over the last couple of years, but the anticipation is that's going to bring a lot of money into crypto, into Bitcoin. So for those who are interested in the XBF, that's XB as in Bitcoin, F as in fund, XBF is, I think, one way to play it. But as you know, Frank, volatility and crypto go hand in hand. So I think just one part of your portfolio, if that, you devote to crypto, given how wild a ride it's going to be.
All right. What about cannabis? Haven't talked about this in quite some time, but certainly the legalization of cannabis here in California really hasn't played out as a lot of people expected as far as boosting the economy and all that. But there are cannabis plays in the stock market, right? Is that something that might be a thing this year?
Well, it's a great example, Frank, of a sector that's really been almost bombed out. I mean, a lot of these cannabis funds over the last 4 and 5 years are down 50, 60, even 70%. I mean, there was a real rush, and this is the nature of fads in the market. There was a real rush into the cannabis industry, 8, 9 years ago. It was just emerging, and then a hangover in the last couple of years. And, given the fact that they were so abandoned last year, I think this actually is a place you can make some money, Frank. MJ, that's a pretty easy ticker symbol to remember when it comes to marijuana. MJ is a basket of very small cap pot-oriented stocks. MJ is the ticker. It's at about $3.50 a share. Certainly pretty volatile, but I think just to your point, as people start to go over last year's losers, a lot of these were sold for tax loss purposes, and I think MJ will make a run in 2024.
All right, we're all following the latest news in the Middle East and the Red Sea, and a lot of nervousness continuing there with the fighting between Israel and the terror group Hamas continuing, and then even our installations coming under attack in various parts of the world now. Oil we see here just below $71 a barrel. What about oil this year?
Well, look, I'm certainly thinking of all those affected, in the Middle East, the terrible situation there, Frank. And, one of the ways, as you alluded to, it's affecting us here are some bumpings up in oil and energy prices. The way I'm actually playing it is a basket of U.S. American energy infrastructure companies. USAI is the ticker symbol. And, Frank, it's not the discovery of oil. This is the middlemen, if you will. They do the transport and the refining. It's USAI pays a pretty a healthy dividend, nearly 6%. And I think that's that kind of dividend-oriented name that even if it stays flat or just moves up a couple of percent, could give you low double-digit returns in 2024. So USAI is the way I'm playing the oil patch so far in 2024.
All right, we'll be getting new readings on inflation this week. We'll all be watching that. That'll be a big deal here. We're watching gold, meanwhile, move a bit higher here, up about $5 now at $2,038 and change. Gold hit a all-time high late last year. What about the precious metals this year?
Well, look, all-time high is a bullish sign. But I have to say, Frank, I've been a bit surprised that commodities in general are struggling pretty dramatically. I mean, a lot of the agricultural commodities at lows for the year. The best thing gold has going for it is a weakness in the dollar. We really started to see that last year. The dollar's up so far this year. But if we continue to see the dollar fall, I think you're going to see gold back up there at that all-time high pretty quick. So I think now is actually a good time to add some gold to your portfolio. You always want to talk to a financial advisor and don't make it an all or none. But I think, this is an asset that has truly withstood the test of time. And the fact that it's right near its all-time high is a bullish indicator for the months ahead.
All right, and we're watching what's happening with China and Taiwan, of course. I know you follow that very closely as well, but would you touch anything related to China as far as anything that's offered on Wall Street at this point?
Frank, a country is only successful as its government is free. And what we see over and over again is these countries with repressive totalitarian governments have terrible economies, have terrible quality of life for their citizens. And that's exactly what's happened in China. I mean, they had a tremendous resurgence in the 90s and early 2000s as they were opening up, liberalizing their economy. In the recent decade, they've become incredibly authoritarian, much more restrictive, much more closing up of the economy, and the stocks have suffered dramatically. I mean, Frank, even as our own market is at a new all-time high, Chinese stocks are at many times they're at 5 or even 10-year lows. So, that change in moving away towards liberalization has really hurt them, and I wouldn't touch them. But Taiwan, Frank, a great example of a more free economy, more capitalist economy. EWT, that's EWT, that's a way to play Taiwan stocks. In fact, semiconductors are really, that's the home of semiconductors is Taiwan, with Taiwan Semiconductor and a few others. So EWT is one I think you can play. In China, as long as it remains authoritarian, those are stocks to avoid.
And you like Vietnam, right?
I do. I mean, this is a year, Frank, I think you're going to want to, as strange as it seems, go for these emerging markets. I mean, they have been really tossed out in the last couple of years, and they're dirt cheap. By one measure, they're as cheap to develop markets as they've ever been. So VNAM, think of it almost like the Bitcoin of international investing, Frank. It's incredibly volatile, but VNAM is one way to play emerging markets. Vietnam, as we said, for one part of your portfolio. You know, these are stocks that when they take off, they go up oftentimes 50, 60, 70%. So this is a good year, in my opinion, to have emerging markets as one part of your portfolio. VNAM is a name to consider.
All right, we have people who love business news and the stock market here. We also have a lot of pet lovers here, Jonathan. So tell us about that book that you presented recently.
Oh, thanks, Frank. I mean, look, I love money, but I do love my dog and pets even more. And this new book is called How Can You Really Love a Pet? By Jonathan HOENIG and Leonard Peikoff. And the whole idea is delving into that very unique, very special relationship between people and their pets. I mean, what makes that love unique, Frank? It's different than the love you have for a parent, for example, or for a child. So can you really love a dog? It's available at Amazon. Jonathan HOENIG is the author. And I'm so glad you received your copy, and I know you'll enjoy it in the weeks ahead.
That's so wonderful, Jonathan. And if there was a ticker symbol, that would be DOG or CAT or PET, right? I know you love your ticker symbols, and you're so thorough. We love it. And congratulations on that wonderful book, Jonathan. And we wish you a happy new year, happy, healthy, and prosperous 2024. And look forward to doing more with you in 24. We're all doing more in 24.
I'll be listening, Frank. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year to your listeners.
Thank you very much, Jonathan HOENIG, Fox News contributor and portfolio manager, Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, author of the book Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Market at Any Time, and the new book titled Can You Really Love a Pet? Folks, it's time to start the new year off right with reminders from attorney Clark Fielding of Fielding Law. Now, if you've been in an accident that was not your fault, it's easy to feel lost in the sea of legal complexities. Fear not. Clark Fielding and his team of law sharks are here to navigate the legal waters for you. They have the expertise to tackle any case, big or small. Fielding Law is not just about providing legal advice. They're also about making sure you understand every step of the process. So consider them your partners in justice. Whether you're facing a sea of paperwork, swimming in contractual confusion, or caught in a legal undertow, Clark the Shark is the lifeguard you need. The Fielding Law team is dedicated to protecting your rights and ensuring a smooth journey through the legal currents. So as you dive into the new year, remember, Fielding Law always has your back. They're not just lawyers. They are your fantastic friends in the legal world. Call them now, 833-88-SHARK, 833-88-SHARK, or go to clarkthesharklaw.com. Again, that's clarkthesharklaw.com. 790 KBC welcomes the one and only Engelbert Humperdinck, coming to the Saban Theater February 10th. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com. Right now, caller 9 wins at 1-888-790-5222. You can get a pair of tickets to the show if you're caller 9. Caller 9 wins at 1-888-790-5222. I love that song. Engelbert Humperdinck coming to the Saban Theater February 10th. Call now. Caller 9 wins 1-888-790-5222. Mottek On Money continues here on our new time of the 4 o'clock hour. Good afternoon, folks. This is Mottek On Money here on 790 KBC. Great to have you with us here. The Dow coming in for a closing gain of 217 points. We're at 37,683. The S&P 500 moved up 66 at 4,764. And the NASDAQ gained 320 points at 14,844. We did see a Boeing stock take a hit today, down $20 at $229. Following what happened here with the groundings of 737s. Alaska Airlines says it had canceled 170 flights, more than one-fifth of its schedule on the West Coast because of the Boeing 737 groundings following the blowout of a door over the weekend. Shares of Alaska Air Group moving lower. Shares of fuselage maker Spirit Aerosystems Holdings down 11% on the day. Among the winners, Harpoon Therapeutics moving up, big. Moving up more than $22, a rise of about 112% today on that stock after Merck said it would buy the cancer treatment developer, paying $23 in cash for each Harpoon share, representing a premium over Harpoon's $10.55 closing price on Friday. The yield in the 10-year note now at 4.03%. Bitcoin down about 80 now at 47,000. Ethereum up 1 at 2,339, and Doge at 8 cents. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KBC, up at our new time in the 4 o'clock hour here on 790 KBC. Good afternoon.
The NFL playoffs are here, and it all starts on January 13th with Super Wildcard Weekend.
Give me everything you got.
12 teams, 6 games, 3 days, and one epic weekend that kicks off with a Saturday doubleheader, followed by a Sunday tripleheader, and ends with a Wild Card Monday.
Unbelievable.
The road to Super Bowl 58 starts now. Super Wild Card Weekend presented by Verizon. Visit NFL.com/schedule for ways to watch.
How wrestling really works and how you get the ratings. Eric Bischoff and Conrad Thompson explain on 83 Weeks.
I mean, I dig Jey Uso because he's born out of great storytelling, and he lived up to the opportunity and exceeded it. The LA Knight, he's way up on my list because here's a guy that's been around for almost ever, should have probably quit a half a dozen times, and he just forced his way into their life, and now he's making money hand over fist. That is a story I love.
83 Weeks on YouTube or wherever you listen.
California's financial situation not looking good, a serious budget deficit, causing many to believe cuts could be coming in a big way. Governor Newsom expected to announce a proposed budget this week, possibly by Wednesday, amid a nearly $70 billion budget deficit. We'll be getting an update on that this week. The push continues, meanwhile, to repeal the so-called death tax here in California. Let's bring in Susan Shelley now, columnist for the Southern California News Group and host of the Howard Jarvis radio show, heard Monday nights right here in 790 KBC. Susan, Happy New Year. Thanks very much for coming to the line this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank. Happy New Year to you and all your listeners, too.
Thanks a lot. And not a Happy New Year as far as the state budget situation is concerned, with a big announcement expected this week. What can we expect out of Sacramento?
Well, there's a giant budget shortfall, meaning they have intended to spend much more than they're going to be seeing in revenue. And what we all have to be on the lookout for is tax increases. And everyone should know that on Wednesday, the Assembly Revenue and Taxation Committee is going to have a hearing on 2 bills that essentially attack Proposition 13. They are coming after property owners again. One of them is a so-called wealth tax, which, while the legislation would apply to the super rich, the constitutional amendment that would put this into place applies to anything they choose to tax. So they could define the value of your home as wealth and then tax it. And that's what is coming if we don't stop it. So that's the wealth tax proposal. And the other one is, let me see, the second one is AB 362. That would require the government to order a study of getting rid of Proposition 13 and replacing it with a land value tax. So we don't want that either, because the last thing we need in California is higher taxes. That's just not the solution. They have to get the budget under control through spending cuts and through rational decision making.
All right. So looks like higher taxes are being discussed. What about budget cuts?
Well, some of the budget cuts that the legislative analyst proposed was reducing spending to schools, but of course the school districts and the unions will fight that tooth and nail. And something else is the climate spending. The governor pressured the legislature into approving 5 years of climate investments totaling more than $50 billion. So, of course, not all that money has gone out the door yet. We'll see if the governor wants to fight to preserve that or if he's willing to pull some of that back.
All right, and then we have the death tax issue. Isn't an important deadline coming up here to get that repealed? It was sold as something entirely different to the voters when it was passed, and in a rather deceptive way. And now we're saddled with this death tax here. But I know you're working to repeal it. Tell us what the people need to know about that.
Well, everyone can go to repealthedeathtax.com. Repealthedeathtax.com is where you can download the petition and print it on your own home printer or anybody's home printer on one sheet of 8.5 by 11 regular letter-size paper. Fill it out, sign it, send it back. The address is right on the petition. Send it back to Howard Jarvis. There is still time to do it. We are coming up on our deadline, but there is still time. And boy, the mail is pouring in. We had 4 giant trays, baskets, buckets of mail that came into the Sacramento office just this morning, and they're opening those envelopes as fast as they can. So if you're holding on to petitions, send them back, because we need time to process all that paperwork. And then we'll be able to get rid of this death tax on property. And what they've done is Proposition 19 removed the parent-child exclusion from reassessment, and now property that's inherited is reassessed to current market value. and that's not right. So we're going to fix that.
Right. Yeah. Tell us more about that. This is a very urgent matter, certainly, that impacts generational wealth here in California, which is already under a threat based on everything else going on here. But let's give us some examples here of the heartbreak that people have faced because of this Prop 19.
Oh, it's been horrible. There are so many families. And to be clear, this applies to all properties. This is not just people who are extremely wealthy and living on a beach somewhere. This is all homes, all businesses, all properties. And we are hearing stories about families where the parents moved out of a house and their child moved into it while everybody was still living. And the parents went somewhere else to an apartment or an assisted living facility. And when they passed, the kids thought that they would be able to keep the same tax bill and hang on to the house. But no, because it was no longer the parents' primary residence, then the Prop 19 limited exception does not apply. So because the parents had moved out, the child inherits the property, but it is reassessed to market value even though they are living in it. And people are just being crushed by this. They can't afford to pay 1% of the current market value of the homes they are inheriting. And they're forced to sell and move, and it upends everyone's life. And so many people had set up trusts where they thought that the income from a rental home would pay someone's medical expenses or long-term care expenses. And now the families can't hang on to those homes. So that's just out the window because the property tax bill is now tens of thousands of dollars a year. It's so much more than what was protected under Prop 13. And under the parent-child transfer exclusion that was passed previously in 1986 by 75% of the voters and a unanimous vote of the legislature, that wouldn't have happened. What we had was parents could pass a home of any value and up to $1 million of assessed value of other property. So the home and a limited amount of other property passed to the kids with no change to the tax bill. And now everything's reassessed to current market value when inherited. And trusts do not protect you. Assessors look through the trust. It's just wrecking people.
Susan, thank you very much for being so thorough and on that important issue on all things related to our listeners, our taxpayers here in Southern California. That is Susan SHELLY, columnist for the Southern California News Group and host of the Howard Jarvis radio show, heard Monday nights right here on 790 KBC. Susan, thank you again very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank.
Good afternoon. This is Mottek On Money at our new time in the 4 o'clock hour here on 790 KBC. And this is Mottek On Money Special Edition, the business of show business, coming to you straight from the red carpet at the 81st Annual Golden Globe Awards in Beverly Hills. The star-studded event at the Beverly Hilton kicks off the Hollywood Awards season and pumped hundreds of millions of dollars into the local economy. The Moet champagne is flowing. The stars and movers and shakers in the entertainment industry are here, ready for their close-ups right here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. And with us now, the Honorable Dr. Julian Gold, M.D., the mayor of Beverly Hills, on Beverly Hills' biggest night, Hollywood's biggest night, the Golden Globe Awards, 81st Annual Golden Globe Awards. Mayor, great to see you here. Give us your reaction to this stellar event here tonight.
Well, this is amazing, Frank. Thank you for, by the way, thank you for always promoting us. Thank you for having me on the show. I love it. This is amazing. We love it. It's, this has always been a huge event for the city. It really is the city's brand. It showcases the city. And we kind of lost that through the pandemic, but you look around and it's back. It's just exciting and it's back and you can feel it, it feels great.
And this year it seems to be the biggest one ever.
I don't think I've seen this many people ever. And it's really, really great. Obviously the show's changed. That's probably a good thing. We'll know more afterwards, of course. But the fact that they stay in Beverly Hills, they're here, always at the Hilton, this is part of what it is, part of our history. Very exciting.
On the air with Dr. Julian Gold, M.D., the mayor of Beverly Hills. And as far as the economic impact of all this, it's got to be tremendous.
It's enormous. We love these kind of events. It brings so many people to our city. And with that, obviously, it's great for the city revenues. It gives us an opportunity to showcase what our city can do. And we're just happy to be able to do it. We love it.
That's fantastic, Mayor Gold. And you see all of the stars here. You're on the red carpet yourself. Any particular stars you'll be rooting for here?
No. You're not going to get me to say.
Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Yeah. I'm not saying, We loved them both. We wish them both the best, and we hope they both win.
Fantastic. Certainly a big logistical operation here. The streets have been closed off, and security is very high, Mayor. Tell us about all that.
Yeah, it's really a remarkable collaboration with all of our public safety partners. We have the sheriff, we have the FBI, we have the Secret Service, obviously Highway Patrol. Everybody got together on the policing side, and then of course you add to that Public Works and all that it takes for street closures, all of the logistics of the IT. We love it, but it's hard. It's a lot of work.
And just coming off of the holiday season, we want to wish you a happy new year. How did the city do coming through the holidays?
I think the city did really well. It's got a real pulse to it. We've seen a lot of people on the streets. We won't know the financial impact for months, but just kind of looking around, we're getting good reviews, and we have lots of people in town. So that's a great start.
And may I share, or maybe you can make the big announcement, your other big news here, Mayor?
Oh, my other big news is that I'm granddaddy now for the second time. Our second granddaughter was born just the other day, so we're beyond excited.
Congratulations, Mayor, on a great night here, and that big news as well. All the best to you and your wonderful family. The Honorable Dr. Julian Gold, MD, Mayor of Beverly Hills, thank you very much for joining us on the red carpet here at the Golden Globes on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Well, thank you, Frank, and I wish you, your family, and your listeners a very happy, safe, and healthy new year.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm standing here with Chef.
Hi, NOBU MATSUHISA.
Chef, thank you very much for joining us here on the red carpet at the Golden Globe Awards, and tell us about your clients who are on the red carpet here tonight.
Well, already I saw so many of my guests. It's a very honor today.
Wonderful. Will they be enjoying any of your food here tonight?
So I hope so.
A little bit later.
Okay, so all of my signature dish today. So most of the people like it. This is kind of the guaranteed dish. Hope everyone enjoy it today.
Since you're such an iconic name here in Beverly Hills, tell us about how business is going here in Beverly Hills these days.
Well, because I'm a lucky person because we have the great teams. A lot of people are working with me, and everything my cooking with my heart.
Are things back to normal now here in Hollywood?
Well, I love LA. I love the so much exciting to the Golden Globe today.
30 years ago, I went to your restaurant on La Cienega. You're obviously a tremendous business success story. This is a business show here we're talking on here now. Tell us about your success story here in Hollywood.
Well, like kind of the coincidence. Today is January 7th, so my first restaurant, the Beverly Hills Matsuhisa, 37 years anniversary. So same day like today. So means after 37 years, so I'm here, because trying to kept it step by step, not the two first. So then they build the team. So team makes the company bigger.
And tell us about your restaurants around the world now.
So we have the restaurant on 5 continents, more than 60 restaurants, and 18 hotels and 12 residences. So still they keep growing.
That's wonderful, Chef. And since you probably better know what the economy is like than anybody else, how is the economy looking to you now, right now?
Well, even the economy not good or bad, but anyway, the people have to eat. So it means the good food is always customers looking for. That's why always my philosophy looking for the good food, healthy food.
Wonderful, Chef. Congratulations on your anniversary, and thank you very much for joining us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Thank you very much.
He is amazing, Chef NOBU Matsuhisa, chef and entrepreneur extraordinaire. His restaurant empire includes the famous, you guessed it, NOBU restaurants in Malibu and Beverly Hills. Quite a restaurant empire. It was wonderful speaking to the chef and the mayor of Beverly Hills, Dr. Julian Gold, MD. We'll have more red carpet interviews this week. It was a big night. Taylor Swift, of course, on the red carpet. Barbie herself, Margot Robbie, and the list goes on. Very big night in Beverly Hills last night, and cause for a big celebration to kick off 2024. And we're going to do more in 24 right here at 4. Yep, the 4 o'clock hour, the new time for Mottek On Money here on 790 KABC.
The NFL playoffs are here, and it all starts on January 13th with Super Wildcard Weekend.
Give me everything you got.
12 teams, 6 games, 3 days, and one epic weekend that kicks off with a Saturday doubleheader. followed by a Sunday tripleheader, and ends with a Wild Card Monday.
Unbelievable.
The road to Super Bowl 58 starts now. Super Wild Card Weekend presented by Verizon. Visit NFL.com/schedule for ways to watch.